Hello and welcome to SME News and Views, brought to you by SME TV. I'm your host, Angela Vithoulkas. This week our panel discusses whether the prison population will grow with business owners via wage theft, the continuing battle between online shopping versus shopfronts, and maternity leave. Who gets it? On Friend or Foe, we look at Australia's natural disasters and who's helping our SMEs, and we profile a family business, L&M Smash Repairs. Welcome to our show. Let's kick it off with our panel. Kerry Chikarovsky, Director and Founder of Chikarovsky & Associates and former leader of the New South Wales Liberal Party. Welcome, Kerry.
Thanks for having me, Ange.
Andrew Morello, winner of the First Apprentice and Head of Business Development at The Entourage.
Thanks for having me, Ange.
Thank you very much. And Craig West, CEO and founder of Succession Plus and Director of SME Association of Australia. Now we're going to start with wage theft. How big a deal is it? There are more than 100 industry and occupation awards in Australia, 22 of which have changed as of March the 1st. With the likes of Calombaris, Coles, Bunnings, ABC, Qantas and even Comm Bank coming forward to declare their wage underpayment, what chance do SMEs have of getting it right? Craig, how do you feel about prison terms, name and shame lists, shame notices, $1 million fines, all for these guilty businesses?
I think you've answered the question, Ange, by giving the list. When you've got businesses like Commonwealth Bank that have got tens of thousands of employees, they can't get it right. How on earth is a small business owner with, mum and dad trying to run a business, look after the staff, pay the BAS, lodge things on time, sort out the super? How in hell can they get it right?
Well,
it's too complicated.
HR and payroll departments to lean on.
It's far too complicated.
Software
People don't
and
understand
IT.
what they have to do. It's not because they're thieving money or they're trying to rip off their staff. That's a really short-term tactic.
Yeah.
It's because they don't understand what they have to do, and it's just too hard to get it right.
It's been really negative, though.
But that's just the point, what you've just said. It's not about people deliberately trying to do it. If people are deliberately ripping off their staff, then honestly, I have no sympathy. No sympathy for them whatsoever. But, we know that particularly for small and medium-sized businesses, the paperwork is one thing. Trying to keep up with what's going on with awards and other things make it equally difficult. So I'm in the law. It's a long time since I was a lawyer. A very long time ago I was a lawyer. But clearly in the law, something that is criminal has to have intent behind it. So I kind of agree in a way with Christian Porter. He's saying that these bigger companies probably need to be held to a higher level, and I think that's probably right. They probably have a higher standard that they have to be involved with. But for small businesses, I mean, honestly, a long time ago, I was Industrial Relations Minister, ancient history. And we found that when people came to us saying they'd been underpaid, if we actually wrote to and spoke to the business owner, 9 times out of 10 they went, oh my God, I didn't know, and they sorted it out. That's the approach we should be taking for small business.
Unions are pushing for a 5-year prison sentence on anyone that's getting caught. It's no wonder we're all scared.
Look, I was lucky to be around in the real estate sector during the reforms with regard to licensing and punishments to people that were doing the wrong thing. And probably all it took was 2 or 3 people to actually be prisoned to get everyone on track. I think there needs to be a collaboration between small business, big business, government, taxation departments, and utilising technology and tools to try and make life easier.
Well, there is an amnesty on at the moment for superannuation, so anyone that's missed out or delayed in paying their super. I guess the general feeling is that SMEs, big or large businesses, is stealing from their employees. And they are, in fact. If they haven't been paid their correct wages or they haven't been given the right superannuation, which has to be invested for the long term, they are robbing them of benefits. But are they doing it intentionally? Do they deserve the $1 million fines? Do they deserve going to prison? I don't know. I find that a bit hard. Does the end justify that means?
Well, I've got a slightly personal experience here with one of my very close friends. He's got a bakery up in Glenorrey, and he did get scrutinised, and they did audit him, and he had a discrepancy of about $20,000 over a 3-year period.
Right.
And he was calling me at 11, 12 o'clock at night feeling like an absolute criminal.
Yep.
And the whole process that he went through was not a very positive experience, even though he was happy to acknowledge that he had made the mistake.
But it's become a PR disaster.
Yeah.
For big business, certainly.
Yes.
When you've got someone like Comm Bank coming forward and saying, oh, sorry, you know, we seem to have underpaid people. I mean, they're the ones that are tracking, 30 cents on a transaction and coming at you for your statement fees.
Yes, and chasing you for the money.
Yeah,
and
and
you think that. So look, I think we really need to distinguish between large corporations and small businesses, because we said earlier that large corporations have in place or should have in place all the appropriate tracking mechanisms. So they should have they've got an HR department. They've got they've got IT specialists who can actually go through and work out whether their payroll has actually been paid appropriately. If they go through that process and they're still found to be wanting because they haven't actually bothered to go through that process before, then I think there's something, something in giving them certainly a significant financial slap over the wrist.
That they are changing. Even I read through the changes and I was flipping from sentence to sentence and trying to work out what they want them to do. You've got to track the hourly workings of any staff during the week or however you pay them, and you have to line that up whether they've had their breaks. Even these are on salaried workers. You have to line up whether they've had enough breaks, whether they've worked the weeks or the hours that you said they were going to work in their contract. If they've worked any more, you need to settle that quickly. This is now going to become a compliance nightmare.
You will crush entrepreneurialism in Australia.
No one will want to employ staff.
You won't want to employ staff. The reality is you're not going to want to grow your business.
No.
And
not with staff anyway. You'll be contracting, going overseas. We won't be employing people here.
We won't.
Payroll tax will be the least of our worries.
Yes.
Compliance on normal will be, payroll taxes will be one
and
for another.
Probably, Ange, the last thing I wanted to mention on that too, we had the chance to listen to a great interview yesterday about a website that a young gentleman, I think out of Western Australia, has created. It's called outflanked.com.au.
Yes.
And I think there's going to become more accountability from an individual's point of view. It's like when they get their credit card statement every month, if you ask 10 people, do you reconcile your credit card statement? 20% of them probably do. I've never done it, tell you the honest truth. But the company ones get done, but your personal, you don't.
No, you don't.
And I've probably been, as someone who travels a lot for business, I've probably been charged for so many hotel things that I've never realised, because when I have actually realised, they've double charged me 3 or 4
lots
times.
of things, Andrew, that you'd rather not remember.
Probably, correct. That's why I don't look at those statements.
I'm just going to jump to the next one because we've got a lot to talk about. Online retail versus business shop fronts. With major retailers like David Jones aggressively closing stores as their profits plunge, and with e-commerce booming around the world, what exactly is the future of our bricks and mortar businesses? Australian online businesses are seeing over 15% growth in their revenue, and online shoppers are growing. In fact, 8 out of 10 Australians shop online. Andrew.
Yes.
Is there a future for shop fronts? Online, where's it all going?
I think it's going to become a thing around being smart retail. So I was very, very lucky to be privy 15 years ago to the vision that Woolworths had for the service station sites. And for those, once again, who do know my background, my family's been in the service station game. For those who don't know, Woolworths undersells their fuel by 2 or 3 cents under cost price what they're paying for it.
And the shopper dockers.
In order to create number one, brand loyalty. Number 2, the only thing you can't buy online is fuel. So the whole idea of it is that they're going to start to reduce their retail space, and you've seen it now with Woolworths Metros, and and they're calling it smart retail.
The smaller footprint.
The smaller footprint, and you'll be picking up your shopping from a refrigerated box at your local service station. And the other big thing that we're seeing now with this retail hard space is, look, you've got Bunnings are now about to open up. I've been privy, once again, I've been working with the company. They're opening up a thing called the Kitchen Collective. They're actually going back to retail, but they're making it more specific to a particular product, rather than it being just a general come in, see if there's something that tickles your fancy.
But, and I'll say it again, Kerry, 30% of online fashion sites are actually seeing a little bit of a decline. So sites like Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, etc., people are only shopping on there when the specials are coming up. So that's a shift. That's a shift. There's hope for small business shop front still, but it's not all online. No, well, and I have to put my hand up here, I shop a lot online. Mainly, for me, it's a convenience thing. I can actually sit there on a Sunday night, when I'm watching maths, and then
and actually go and do my shopping online. You know, look at some of those the retail
The specials,
shops.
they come up once you've searched once, it stays on your feed.
They do, and they keep on popping up. So I do actually do a lot of online shopping. Having said that, there is something about the experience of going in and actually trying clothes on, which is actually, I think, you know, something I don't think we're ever going to get rid of that. But I do think that what people are doing is they're going online, they're looking at what they like, and then perhaps going into the shop and trying it on.
They're doing price comparisons,
and
they're shopping around.
Absolutely, and you know, you can actually see that sometimes you can get the same thing elsewhere.
Yep, cheaper.
But go in, try, which is probably not going to be good for the retailer. Go in and try it on there, and then you order it online. That's not good.
Well,
but I do think
which is why the shop fronts need to pick up their game and have that solid online presence.
They do.
But the big brands like David Jones, they've really dropped the ball.
They left it too late. That's what they did.
I don't think they honestly believed
it
they
was
would
going to
ever
happen.
lose traction in their shop fronts.
A bit late now because
It was the old
closing shops.
It was the old Kodak story. You know, they thought the digital cameras were going to be a phase.
Yeah.
So you know, I think a lot of people in the fashion retail probably thought that fashion retail was going to be online fashion retail.
30 billion was spent last year. It's on track and trajectory, predicting 35 billion next year online. But it's the third-party payment systems that are also finding this lucrative market and clipping the ticket.
Yes.
So that's one interesting formula. And then you've already got people considering what do SMEs do better in real life than the online world, when it's actually, in fact, the smaller online retailers that are killing it. As opposed to the big online retailers, because they still don't get the customer service.
I think small business owners need to be a bit smarter. Instead of whinging about the fact that Amazon's here, you know, I've got a client that sells nearly $1 million a month through Amazon. He hasn't got an online store, hasn't got a website, it's just Amazon, but his product is sold through Amazon and he sells $1 million a month.
Correct.
He's hugely competitive.
Everything like that will be available via Amazon.
He's got a better margin. Amazon handles all the logistics, all the delivery, all the payment. He doesn't have to do anything.
He doesn't worry about
Just brings
anything.
the product in. He's making more money than he ever did.
See,
and
whatever
I'm now
business
saying
that
to
is,
him,
sounds good, right?
I'm now saying to him, close the shop. What do you want to bloody shop for? All you have to do is look after people, pay wages, worry about wage theft. Why would you have one? Get rid of it.
You're in partnership with the landlord if you do have bricks and mortar.
Absolutely.
Because those overheads are just getting ridiculous. If you can even afford, unless you're in a third or fourth category type of premises, and then you don't have the foot traffic. So it is getting ridiculous, but it's interesting how they're seeing that massive competitive fierceness online as well.
Yes.
There was only a few online, so now there's so many online.
Well, I think the fact that I live in the city, I work in the city, I walk down Pitt Street Mall, and since the beginning of the year, I have not seen a fashion shop which hasn't been on sale.
And it's like 6 months of the year.
And it's not just
constant.
It's not just like the 3 weeks after Christmas or after New Year. It's just constantly.
The only
always
question is
on
which
sale.
sale is it?
That's right.
Yeah, that's
the Boxing Day
but
sale
they're
or
always
the
on
Easter
sale.
Is it
or
the 60% off?
And they're all
Further prices
discounted.
reduced?
That's very dangerous for small business because to try and compete with that.
Well, we're
you squeeze out your
expecting
margin.
it now, right? We're
They can't
expecting
do it.
everything
Exactly
to be
right.
cheap
Well,
all
I mean,
the time.
my children laugh because I say I never pay full retail price for anything. I wait till it goes on sale.
It used to be only in America, now it's come here. All right, moving on. Maternity leave. Women are a key part of the Australian workforce, both as employees and business owners. Each year we celebrate International Women's Day in March and we highlight the achievements of women around the world. Now, Kerry, even though 35% of all businesses are owned by women, we still haven't got it right for SMEs in terms of women ownership with maternity leave. Has the government dropped the ball on this?
Look, I think it's a really difficult thing to expect governments.
And I'm not just asking Kerry
because I'm a woman.
No. That's right.
And it's a long time since I've had a baby, let me tell you. Look, I think it's, as I said, I think it's hard to ask governments to pick up all the bills in terms of business and including maternity leave, because I think there's some pretty generous maternity leave provisions now available to women. But I do understand how difficult it is for women, particularly those who are business owners, to close their, shut their businesses down while they're on maternity leave. One of the reasons, though, that women used to say to me that they actually were leaving organisations and setting up their own businesses because it gave them that flexibility. They could actually be at home with a baby asleep in there. They're basically running their business from the kitchen. So I think it's a difficult one.
But the issues with paid parental leave as a SME. As a self-employed female or woman, the government paid parental leave is very low. If you are earning less than $150K a year as an owner, you can have 18 weeks of paid parental leave, which is about $650 odd a week after tax, and you have to take it in a block of 12, and they've changed the rules now. You can take a block of 6 weeks later on. But the problem is, as an owner, and we all know, having been self-employed, you can't always pick the time you want to take that downtime.
So what would you do?
This is a difficult thing. You would hope that if you are self-employed that you have a structure where you can take a step back. But parental leave, I mean, you don't know if you're going to feel like wanting to come back to work in 6 weeks or 12 weeks or a year. As an employer, you have more flexibility because you can take longer and the employer has to give you a job back.
But I mean, for small businesses, that's also an issue because,
It's an
I mean,
issue.
you know, the uncertainty of, you know,
Is
when
somebody
and
coming
if
back? Yeah.
you're coming back makes it difficult for small businesses. At least, again, go back to larger corporations. They've got more people, they can put people in, they can have people acting up in positions or
Correct.
whatever, they can cover them. But if you're a small business owner and you've
got 3 staff and somebody leaves,
and you go,
it does
when are
leave a
they-
big gap.
You can't replace
It's a
them.
33.3% gap.
That's
Well, you'll be paying double.
exactly right.
the staff.
So, look, and I'm all for. I was one of the people who came out and supported maternity leave a long time ago because I do think it's important. I think it's important that we recognise that families are the basis of our community and we need to support families. We need to support women in particular, but, you know, paternity leave for men is also something which I think we should be talking about.
And it's important because the paid parental leave is available for men and women.
Absolutely. So I think that we should be thinking about how we support families, but we need to do it in a practical way, which doesn't mean that small businesses end up going to the wall.
Well, Kerry, I think what we're going to see is, once again, it's got the same elements as what I spoke about before. There's going to be a bit of a rejuvenation in the sense that, you know, I grew up in the Costello days where he was saying have one each and one for the country, right? And I always thought that was the greatest thing.
How many did your parents have?
3, one each and one for the
followed
country. They
Costello's
followed
rules.
Costello's
Craig,
rules.
what
There we
about
go.
you? Did they follow?
No, 2. There's only 2.
Yeah, we stuck with 2. I
There's
wish
only 2.
we
We
had
missed
6.
I've only had 2.
Okay, so my parents were the only ones who did Costello's ideas. But, you know, the idea that I'm starting to see is 2 things. One is innovation with allowing women to get back to work from home.
Yep.
So we're seeing now with things like Slack and most, CRMs and client relationship management tools and
But
project management
that's if
tools.
they've got the job that allows them to do
I
that.
agree, but in that case, that there is certainly opportunities there. If there's not, then there's not. But also what we're seeing now is it's actually forcing, to some respects, an element of a pressure cooker situation where you've got these women innovating.
Yep.
And through our entrepreneurial work that we do at the Entourage, we're seeing, you know, there's a particular mother right now that we're working with down in Melbourne. She started children's products online.
Yep.
And in a 3-year period, she's gotten it to $2.5 million in revenue. Now, she would never have started that business if she hadn't become a mother.
So
she would have stayed in her corporate role.
Innovation out of necessity.
Correct.
Last
The problem
comments,
is,
Craig?
I think the big problem here is, and it's pretty typical in my view, government is not looking at reality.
Yep.
This is legislation that's designed for the 1960s. People don't work 5 days a week, 40 hours for 12 weeks in a row to have maternity leave. What they want to do is come into work every morning for 3 mornings in a week and then go home and look after the children, which suits hubby or the other way around.
Pick them up,
because
drop
he's
them
working
off.
late or she's working early. There's just no flexibility in it. And I'm afraid it's typical of government legislation. They're just not looking at the real situation. The gig economy's been here for nearly 10 years.
Yep.
They're not aware of it yet. They need to get their head in the game.
I think that's a little harsh. But anyway.
We've discussed all the problems. We haven't quite found all the solutions. We might save that for next time.
Yep.
Thank you to our panel. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we look forward to seeing them, of course, in the future. Thank you to everyone. Craig West, Kerry Chikarovsky and Andrew Morello.